Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Hope session today, Prescribing Music for Well-Being. I'm Christine, the Community Initiatives Manager with Arts and Healing Initiative, and I'm your Zoom host today. This program is presented as part of our Free Hope series, which we created to support the resilience of our global community through social emotional arts. If you've previously attended a Hope session, welcome back. If you're new, thank you for joining today. We're so grateful you're all here to create, learn, and grow together as a community. Our workshop today is scheduled for 1.5 hours, and we'll be recording in speaker view so that we can share this later on our YouTube channel. But only whomever is speaking will be seen. We encourage you, if you're open to it, to leave your cameras on if you feel comfortable doing so. We just know that active participation really enhances the experience for all, but please do what feels most comfortable to you. As we go, feel free to put your questions in the chat as they arise or use the raise hand function. I'll be supporting with that and calling attention to your questions where it's possible for Judith to respond. And if you're in need of tech support, feel free to message me directly at any time during the workshop. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Tongva Nation, on whose home and land the unceded territory of Los Angeles resides. As we're reminded of our environment's vulnerabilities, we hold respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who still consider themselves the caretakers of this land. By their example, we're reminded of our responsibility to our planet and to one another. Let's take a few moments now to reflect on and honor with gratitude the Indigenous communities of past and present on whose land you're joining from today. I'm also posting a Native Lands resource in the chat. I am excited to introduce you to today's facilitator, Judith Pinkerton. Judith is a music therapy clinician who's motivated to disrupt the mental health crisis by applying music like medicine. She's passionate about converting music therapy into do-it-yourself programs and tools that are accessible to all. So for today's session, Judith will be sharing her expertise and using an app that she recently developed as a teaching tool. And we invite you to download the free Key to Me app and create an account in order to really get the most personalized application of today's content. If you prefer not to use it, or if you can't access it during the session, you'll still learn how to enhance your lives with music. So please, as well as downloading the app, I want to make sure that went through. Oops, it didn't go through. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Okay. In addition to downloading the app and creating an account, we also ask that you open up your preferred digital music app so that you can listen to music during our session today when the time comes. So let me make sure we're all joined. Great. Everyone's out of the waiting room. We're all here. I'm going to pass it over to Judith. Judith, we look forward to having you with us here today.
Thank you so much, Christine. What a privilege to share time with each and every one of you. I am seeing a lot of familiar faces too on the chat. Thank you for introducing yourself so I know who you are, where you are. So we're going to go on a journey today, and you're going to have opportunities to check on that personal journey for yourself as we look at a variety of ways that you can prescribe music for your own personal well-being. So we're really interested in how you listen to music as well as possibly perform music that intentionally enhances your well-being. And through this interactive webinar, we're going to embrace music as that bridge to resilience by honing in on how we can emotionally regulate through a prescriptive music practice. Whether finding relief from physical pain, uplifting a mood, or shifting your energy, you'll come away with an empowering tool to support your everyday wellness. So I want to find out what kind of music platform you use. If you could drop it in the chat right now and let me know, because I'm always looking for new music platforms. So go ahead and drop it in. I don't know whether it's iTunes or Spotify or Amazon Music or YouTube. This system that you're going to learn about today honors all music platforms. So I'm always curious as to what it is you've got. Okay, I'm looking at what the chats are all about. Yay. Okay. So,
Sorry, Judith, I have a quick pause. There is a question or a comment
oh,
about if
sure.
anyone has a favorite ethical music app, since they note that Spotify and many others are running ICE ads. And so if anyone has any that they suggest, please do feel free to drop that in the chat as well. And I'm not sure, Judith, if you're familiar of anything in particular.
Yeah, no, you know what? Things are changing by the day, right? So that's why I'm so glad that we've got everyone on with us today so I can find out what's new that I'm not aware of.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. So let's move on to our next slide and really talk about what is healing music. There's some really important pictures personally for me. I'm on a cruise and I'm there with my parents. And they look pretty happy in that picture. And then suddenly they weren't. So I have discovered that the healing music that I thought was working in an ICU for my father was actually killing him. And because of my ability to shift quickly as a music therapist, I was able to immediately find the music that would work. And the doctor, I still get a little bit shaky in my voice, the doctor was able to confirm that if that had not happened, he would have died. He was taking his last breath. So just know that healing music can come from any genre, and you're going to learn how that is important today. So what I would like to do is have you just drop in the chat right now, you know, if there's a healing piece of music that you think works for you as a healing piece of music, and we'll be taking note of it and sharing a playlist later. We'll be talking about that. But I want you to now go into a quiz. So if you would go to the next slide, Christine, we're going to do a listening test. And we're going to find out exactly what kind of music makes you feel certain ways. So these are the two ways that you're going to think about how music is affecting you. So we're going to be dropping in the chat the first music. And when you get that music link, go to your favorite platform and listen to just the first minute of it. And I want you to be able to do 2 assessments on yourself. So just make a note on your desk, wherever you're at, just make a note about how this first piece of music makes you feel. What mood category would you put it into? Would you describe it as U or unsettled, S or soothed, or E as energized? And then do a little bit deeper dive for yourself and find out, what's my personal response to that? So I understand it's a mood category, could be U, S, or E. But then what's my personal response to that particular piece of music? So you could, for instance, say, oh, this piece of music makes me feel soothed. And, oh, yeah, I feel just very peaceful. So that's the difference between a mood category and then your personal response to that. So, Christine, let's go ahead and drop in that first piece of music that you're going to snag and listen to on your favorite platform. And in a minute, we'll come back on and we'll go to the next piece of music. Okay. Now, some of you might have been saying, why? Why did you turn that off? I was enjoying it. Somebody else might be saying, finally, you turned it off. Could be a variety of responses to this. So, as you notice how that made you feel, put down the mood category you would put it in, U, S, or E, and then what is your personal response to that as a emotion? So just note it right now because we're going to shift quickly now to the second piece of music. Okay. Note your response, U, S, or E, mood category, and then personal response of an emotion. And now we're going to move to selection number 3. It will be in the chat for you to listen to, or go to the link on your special platform. Okay, so mood category that it makes you feel, and then what is that personal emotional response? And as I'm looking through the chat, I'm seeing a variety of responses to all the music. And if you're looking at what somebody else has written, you very well could be going, what? That's not my response. I'm feeling very different from that. And that's why this prescriptive protocol is so crucial in understanding how to manipulate the music that will be important to you, and to understand how to, it's an interesting word to use, tolerate. How to tolerate somebody else's choice, knowing what it might be doing for them. I get a lot of feedback from people concerned about, what their kids are listening to, or, what's happening out in concerts and so on. And what's interesting about this protocol is that it truly honors all genres. So when you start looking at your preferred genres, it's important for you to understand, how does it make me feel? What category would I put it into? And then as you start diving deeper into understanding what a prescriptive music practice could be, it's first being able to understand what that music is meant for and how it could possibly be used in this prescriptive practice or not. And because this is so personalized, it's hard for you to judge what somebody else should be listening to in order for it to be prescriptive and healing, until you understand more about this protocol that we're going to dive into. So for instance, for the first piece of music, number one, Animal I Have Become, for those of you that said, oh yeah, man, this is making me feel unsettled, it's making me anxious or angry or any of those unsettling emotions found under the unsettled mood category, you're actually responding to it in a way that could be helpful. For those of you that are saying that this is calming, it could be that there's some history that you have with that piece of music, which would have us engaged in a different conversation to find out more about what that memory is about, and then what to do about a prescriptive playlist based upon the memory and how you're being affected now. So typically in this protocol, Animal I Have Become belongs in the unsettled playlist. If you say that it's not unsettling for you, you are not wrong. You are right in what you are saying. It does for you. It's then understanding, okay, so what are my problem moods and how do I need to navigate through them, around them, attaching to them, releasing them. And it becomes more complicated in understanding how to create a mood sequence formula that honors the music that will work for you, looking at all genre possibilities. So the second piece of music that you heard, the babbling brooks, for some a little bit unsettling, others, oh yeah, or maybe too long, or not enough variety, too much babbling brook. Be aware of how nature music might influence you into a soothing place. Typically, nature music belongs in this soothing category. But if you have any kind of traumatic experience in nature with nature sounds around you, like ocean waves or whatever, that's not going to be the case for you. So if you find that nature music is unsettling for you, you wouldn't put nature music actually into the unsettling category typically. Working with a music therapist, there will be other ways to go about honoring the music that works for you. So you would need some more advisement, I think, about exactly how to do a mood music sequence when nature music is not soothing for you. And the same thing goes for the music that I say belongs in unsettled, but you're saying it's not that. More insight about what your experience is with it will provide a lot more information about how to use it and where it goes in specialized prescriptive playlists. So the third one is called Unwritten. And for those of you that said, oh, this is my happy jam, it belongs in the energized playlist. For those of you that said, this does not work for me, then you would not use it, because you would not necessarily put that piece of music in the unsettled category. So one of the things you look at for analyzing music to see what list it should go in is how the words connect with the music. If the words, the energy of the words is unsettling and the music is unsettling, it's very possible that it would work in the unsettled mood category. If the words are happy and the music is unsettling, then that is not a match, and it does not go in our prescriptive playlists. There is always other playlists that we recommend too that I'm not going to go into today because it gets even more complicated. But simply, the rule of thumb is the words have to match the energy of the music. So sad lyric, sad music. Happy lyric, happy music. Anxious words or angry words matches with anxious music or angry music. And then you're probably going, yeah, but why would I possibly want that kind of playlist? What we've discovered, and we do have our own published research with this, where it actually influenced medication, is that this kind of sequencing where you are validating those unsettling emotions, it allows you to express out and release unsettledness in a way that may not have been as successful prior to utilizing this protocol, because you don't just listen to unsettled music, you shift and go into soothing music and shift again and go into energizing music. The challenge is categorizing the music, absolutely categorizing the music correctly for yourself, because if that doesn't happen, then you could be actually placing yourself in what we call a danger zone. So Christine, if you could go to that next slide. So there are definite danger zones that I've discovered working with more than 11,000 patients in residential addiction treatment centers. I've learned so much from them. And there are indeed danger zones. And let's just talk about them quickly. So in my TED Talk, and there's a link that Christine's going to place in there for you that's called Music Powers Potential Building Mental Fitness. You can listen to that some other after this, not right now. But in my TED Talk, I refer to music habits that may only be temporary solutions to shifting a mood. So when you're looking at your past, where you might have memories that are uplifting or traumatic, your music might represent that of the past. I saw some chat responses about, oh yeah, I remember when I was listening to this in my, in the 80s or in another decade. So what that does is it could bring up those memories that are either uplifting or traumatic. So when you are thinking about your music habits and you push play on music and you realize where it's taking you, it could be into the past. Or you could be choosing music in the present moment where, yep, that's what I feel like listening to. That's my jam. It just keeps my attention, or it matches how I feel. Think about the words or the phrases that you might use and drop it in the chat if you want. How would you describe music when all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I want to listen to that? What would you call it? How would you refer to it? And then there is the responsive future, where you could say, yeah, I don't want to feel like I am right now. So let's see, I'm going to put on music that is going to make me feel more peaceful because I don't like where I'm at right now. So you're thinking about where you want to be, what's your trajectory, how do you want to shift your mood to that, and then you push play on that music. And truthfully, that may not work. What we've discovered is that when you can validate where you're at, the trick to that is understanding where you're at. And nowadays I'm discovering there's a lot of confusion about emotional awareness, and I don't know what I'm feeling, I just feel confused. I don't know what to call it. So as you get more clarity with this protocol about what is it that I am feeling, then you can start assigning music to the right playlist so that you then call what we call a prescriptive playlist. So it's important to understand that music listening habits, or even music performance habits that are expressing, what you've felt in the past, or what you're feeling in the present moment, or where you want to be in the future, may only be temporary solutions for you. What we discovered is using and applying a particular mood sequence formula, and there's a variety of formulas once you understand how to manipulate the formula to work for you in the present moment. Imagine being able to relieve anger, anxiety, depression, or sadness in as little as 15 minutes because of the mood sequence formula that you understand to deploy, that's easily found in your music platform. So let's talk about the danger zones and what is that, because you want to kind of navigate around them. Let's go to the next slide, please, Christine. So what I've learned from all these patients that I worked with is that there is indeed a chronic comfort zone. And the chronic comfort zone can be experienced in any one of those mood categories. There can be an unsettled chronic comfort zone, a soothed chronic comfort zone, or an energized chronic comfort zone. And once you understand what they are, then you can start navigating and sleuthing and investigating, am I in one of those or not? So when you're in a chronic comfort zone, and it's called an unsettled chronic comfort zone, you could be misinterpreting your energy of, instead of being angry, you just feel energized all the time. Or instead of feeling anxious, you're just excited all the time. Or instead of feeling and calling it depression, you're calm. Leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I'm fine. And what I've noticed is that those unsettled chronic comfort zones, which are actually anger trapped, anxiety that's trapped, and depression that's trapped, can beget violence, addiction, and suicide. So they're danger zones to be aware of. Now, you can also have a soothed chronic comfort zone and an energized chronic comfort zone. Imagine somebody that is in a soothed chronic comfort zone where, let's see here, they listen to music all the time, and it's got to be soothing music, because if they turn it off, their mind goes into a place they don't want to go to. When that occurs, it's very possible that they are trapped in a soothed mood category where this is where I'm at, this is how I want to experience life that I can manage easily, and I have to have my music. If I don't have my music, then you don't want to see what's going to happen. There's also the energized chronic comfort zone where somebody is always in their happy place. Oh, I don't want to hear about it. Don't tell me anything about that. I don't go there. You take care of it. I'm over here in my happy place. You don't want to see me if I'm not happy. So each of those chronic comfort zones have trapped emotions in them. And it can be this broad emotional landscape. Any one of these areas could be a trapped emotion for you. And it's through listening habits and performance habits that we're able to understand more about it. So I see some questions that I want to respond to here. Let's see here. So what does USE mean? So it's an interesting way to say use music for health. And it also is the 3 mood categories. So it's easy to remember the mood categories. USE, U is unsettled, S is soothed, and E is energized. And it's simply categorizing music. And I will say, in music therapy, for a long time, music has been referred to as 2 distinct categories, stimulative and sedative. And this music therapy informed strategy protocol takes that 2 classification and makes it a 3-part classification. So stimulative music can be unsettled music, and it can be energizing music. So we're talking about happy energizing versus unsettled. Both of those are stimulating. But now it's really classifying, okay, what is the difference between the 2? And if we follow, according to neuroscience, a mood sequence formula, how can that be beneficial? And what would my mood sequence formula be? I have a story for you. There is a gentleman who was a house manager, support manager for an abused children's village. And he decided to do this protocol, and he discovered that his preferred music was more metal and a lot of subgenres of metal and grunge. And he had decided that he needed to start running to get in shape. He had a baby with his wife, and he knew that the music that he really preferred to listen to was not something that they would want to listen to in the house. So he decided he would use that music while he was running. And as he's going through this course, he's realizing that, wow, I'm really having some physical pains while I'm running. What if I switch up my music? Let's see here. What if I follow a different mood sequence formula? So he uses a sequence that placed his preferred music genre into just a small part of his regimen of running, and used a variety of other music sandwiching around it. And what he discovered was less pain and more distance that he was able to do, because he came up with a different formula that honored these three mood categories and a variety of music instead of just one genre. And he's actually training for a half marathon now, when he was hoping to get 1 mile done. So he is understanding how to utilize music differently in order to build his physical fitness. And his mental fitness, too, has benefited along with that. So thinking about chronic comfort zones, when you go into the music app, let's go to the next one, please, Christine. The app, the Key to Me app, has been a long journey of deciding exactly how am I going to take all this clinical evidence and put it into an app so that it will allow people to go in and not only do a quiz, but then to find out what do they do with the quiz results in creating their own prescriptive playlist. So in its version 1.0 right now, and hopefully you've been able to download it and start looking at it, you will see that there's an emotional profile quiz. And when you do this emotional profile quiz, you will see a red line as your result. And these are just 3 red lines from the Key to Me app emotional profile quiz that are possibilities. There are dozens and dozens of possibilities, all based on clinical evidence. So these 3 red lines are typical of what a chronic comfort zone might look like. So let me describe for you. So you'll see the USE at the bottom. So that is categorizing the mood. So experiencing unsettled moods, soothing moods, and energizing moods. So unsettled moods, again, are anger, anxiety, depression, sadness. Soothed moods would be like relaxing, tranquil, peaceful, content. Energizing moods would be like happy, enthusiastic, optimistic, excited. So you'll notice that on the graph that the first one on the left is a low U, a high S, and a low E. The middle graph, the red line, is a flat line. That's about mid-range. And then the right-hand one is showing a high level of experiencing unsettled moods or emotions, and a low experience of experiencing soothing emotions, and then a higher experience again of experiencing happier emotions. That's the interpretation going through this profile quiz. The black line represents a normal, healthy line. Imagine the black line where the low U score is feeling unsettledness not very often. And when you do experience it, it kind of leaves you pretty quickly, which then allows you to feel mid-range relaxation and then high-range happiness, that joy most of the time. So that's the typical black line that you look for. Looking at the red lines, these are potentials for actually being trapped in a chronic comfort zone. So I had described earlier what that one on the left might be where somebody might be in a soothing chronic comfort zone and only listening to soothing music, and don't you dare take that music away from me because, oh my gosh, what I'm repressing and keeping down with not feeling unsettledness and not feeling too happy, is going to erupt and I'm not going to be able to control it. That's what that inverted V of a red line might indicate. So this app is a mental health app. Imagine understanding what your emotional shape is and then being able to access, there's 7 different resources that do include some free prescriptive lists right now. So right now this app is free. You're not going to pay anything for this app right now. When we get into creating and completing version 2.0, where the user will be able to create their own prescriptive playlist in the app and be able to track on their progress. If you're working with a therapist, they can use it as well in tracking progress, in releasing anger, anxiety, depression, and sadness through this very carefully regimented experience. So I'm going to check the chat box right now to see if there's anything that I need to check on. Christine, you can help me out here if you're seeing something that I might have missed, if there's questions or...
No, I think we're good to continue.
Okay. I'm seeing somebody's response here with a test with feeling ESE. Yeah,
It's me. Hello. My name is
Ah,
Fanny. Yeah, you know what? For me, to be honest, the first one was very, let's say, full of energy. If
mm-hmm.
I'm going to kickboxing or something, it's wonderful. The second one was soothing and relaxing, good for meditation. And the last one is good, but it was full of energy, but compared to first one, the level of energy is somehow in between. But is it possible that all of these categories is good? To be honest, I feel comfortable with all of them.
Yeah, that's what we want to get at, is that your broad emotional landscape is a part of you, physiologically, behaviorally, emotionally. You are never not going to experience your broad emotional landscape. So the U emotions, the S emotions, and the E emotions. It's how you manage them and how you regulate your moods that can be effective or not effective in your daily life. And have you able to release unsettledness pretty quickly, or stay stuck there and trapped there and not be able to manage it well, and then it starts affecting and infecting your life and others around you. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, you are welcome. So you've been able to get past that hurdle of, why would I want to listen to animal I have become? To understand that, listening to that energy can help you release unsettledness. And you don't necessarily need to listen to the entire song. You listen to it until you're so in tune with yourself that you have released the emotion, and then can shift to S. So it is important to follow. This is a generic mood sequence of going to U to S to E, because you want to neutralize what you just stirred up by going to S, and it allows you to deepen the potential for relaxation. So I'd really like to know who has a challenge with meditating. Anybody? Drop it in the chat and let me know what your challenge might be with just meditating. And you will see what the possibilities might be in using a prescriptive habit for just being able to get more comfortable with meditating. So there's an app that I recommend. Insight Timer is, there's so many. There's Calm, there's Insight Timer. I happen to use Insight Timer because it's free. I like free. And when you understand that meditation music may or may not work for you, then you know what to do first before going to that meditation music. That maybe you need to match mood. What is unsettling right now for you? what would just really feel good for you just to let it out and allow that anxiety or that anger or that depression or that sadness just to flow. And just listen to the music, don't keep playing it over and over and over and over again, because then you get yourself trapped in that mood and it's hard then to get out of that mood. So you have to pay attention to how often you're listening to that piece of music. And then shift into that app if you're looking for options for meditation techniques. Let me look here and see what else there have been for comments. Yeah, I love that. Not in the right mood to meditate. I totally get it. I personally find music and movement more effective for me than seated. There's so many ways to meditate, absolutely. And especially if you're a dancer and you just don't, there's so many options for meditating. It's needing to calm the mind. That's what you're looking for. So whatever technique or method works for you, this is one to add on to it. If you're finding that you're not able to calm your mind, then what kind of music can you possibly utilize to help get out and release that trapped emotion that's keeping you blocked from being able to meditate? Let me see what else to do. Thoughts. Yeah, thank you for all your comments. Looking at the let's look at the middle emotional profile. So that flat line, just in like an ICU unit, flat line's not good. A flat line indicates you're just wanting to control all aspects of your emotions, most likely. That you don't want to do too much because the unsettledness could get triggered. You don't want to do too much because if you get too soothed, something else might pop up and you can't control it. Because when we tend to go to a more soothing state, we have less voluntary control over our emotions. And if you're in that mid-range with happiness, you're not really, happy. So you're locking all of your emotions into place as opposed to being able to freely and fluidly express out in a healthy way unsettledness so that you can feel truly more relaxed and happier. So put in the chat, do you know someone who might be trapped in a chronic comfort zone? And if so, which zone? Don't have to call out names, but yeah, as you gain more information here about noticing trapped emotions and how they might connect to music behaviors, drop it in the chat and let me see if there's something that I can address. So as I'm waiting for some feedback there, we're going to go to the next slide, Christine, and look at the rest of the app and how you can benefit from it. So when you go into the app, simple screenshots, you can see how all these screenshots replicate what you're seeing in the app. And what's most important is that when you get your results in, and please know you have to go in and move the cursor, your button on every emotion so that it will populate and you can go to the next screen, because there are several screens you have to go through in your assessment. And then you'll see your result of the red line and the black line. So you read that result, and then there's more information as you continue to scroll through your screens of results with the final links in the back, with 7 links to free stuff, including prescriptive playlists that if you were on our website at themusicforlife.com, and that's the number 4, you would have to pay for it. But through the app, we're offering and honoring the need for people to be able to access this right now and to be able to utilize it to start shifting into healthier moods. All right, looking at some more chat. Okay, I am seeing elaborating on how to mix genres within a category for pain management. Oh, so there's a variety of different kinds of pains. And if you're talking about physical pains, that's one thing. If you're talking about psychological pains, that's another. So if we're talking about physical pain, generally tension music will match the level of tension that you're experiencing. And then you have to gradually shift that into something that is much more calming. And it's amazing how your body responds to that. There have been a lot of feedback from clients about physical pains that lessen or go away as a result of using these mood sequence formulas. But it's crucial about what the music is that you start with to match that physical pain. And what the level of volume is and where you're listening to it, so you're not, if you're in the hospital, for instance, with physical pain, you don't want it blasting so that you're infecting somebody else with your personal music. You need to be wearing headphones. And I generally recommend headphones all the time so that you have your personal space, because truly what can start pain for you can stop pain for somebody else. So you have to be very honoring about private listening space. So to mix genres within a category, when I say tension music, it could be grunge, it could be metal. There's a lot of classical pieces. When you look at different genres, there could be a level of unsettledness in almost any genre, including Christian, because there's so much crossover into other styles where they're doing it in order to attract more people. I can remember when crossovers first started happening a couple decades ago, where there had to be a beat to the classical music because they wanted to get people more interested in listening to classical music, so they put a beat under it. And now, oh, you don't even know what to call the music sometimes, because it's a little bit of this and that and a mixture. So I think as long as you can, so what's coming up for me is Shostakovich is a classical composer, and in Symphony Number 10, I believe it is, the Allegro movement, it's very good for like a high anxiety, kind of borderline angry piece of music if you're looking for something classical. And it's important for it to be unrelenting, that it doesn't shift to something else, because you're in charge of when you shift it. Although there's always another way to look at it. There is never 100% decision about anything that I say, because there's always that possibility that something else will happen. So that's one option where you want to really match that level of tension that you're feeling, and then to shift it gradually. And I say gradually because what you do is you monitor the volume, and so you lessen the volume of it as you shift yourself into something that is more low key and takes you into a more soothing state. And you may find that that actually works for reducing physical tension and physical pain. Anybody have other goals that you're thinking of before we shift into the next slide that you would like a descriptor about? Oh, what to do if somebody's trapped in happiness? I would have a conversation probably something like this. So what music is uncomfortable for you? And start going in that direction to find out what that is and what that's about, to potentially play it and find out more about the mood that comes up for that person, which then gives them also an opportunity to express that mood out. And then in your conversation, it's interesting when you start learning more about how to manipulate the music, you can actually do this in the background with people, and it has an amazing effect. We have on our YouTube channel, it's called Music for Life. It's number 4 USA on YouTube. There is a video testimonial from an elementary school counselor who used one of our playlists as a background music for her anger management class for, I think it was 5th graders. And what she was amazed at was that they would come in and they'd kind of like, what's that? She goes, don't worry about it. It's just in the background. Don't worry about it. Well, after a couple sessions, these were weekly groups, she did not have to play the prescriptive playlist any longer that shifted moods, because they would automatically shift when they came into the room. They'd been conditioned. So that's one of the beauties about these prescriptive playlists, is that it is able to empower somebody with mood change even when you're not listening to the music, once you have become so indoctrinated into your mood playlist. It's an amazing way to reflect on that. I want to keep going here because we got another poll coming up here. Let's go to the next slide, Christine. All right. So this poll is going to be reflecting on, what are you interested in? What concerns you the most as you look at this mental health crisis that we're experiencing, where we certainly have a crisis. And I'm sure that every one of us has experienced this crisis with somebody else or ourselves in our world. So Christine, go ahead and put that poll in. I want you to vote on what you're most concerned about in these problem areas. It's interesting to see this list as it shifts and changes. So I see anxiety is most concerning, with stress-related illness second, suicide third of most concern, depression close to suicide, and substance abuse of concern as well. So as we reflect on anxiety being of most concern by most of you, I think we're done with the poll. Doesn't look like there's any more. What do you think, Christina? Okay, there's the results. So as you look at that, now we're going to shift into a more micro management of, how do we fix it? What are the solutions for that? So remember what this problem area feature is, and let's go to the next slide and look at potential solutions. So there's curriculum that I created, and in this curriculum, called 6 Habits of Music Medicine for Highly Empowered People, there are 6 habits listed there. So as you remember what our previous poll was with the mental health crisis, what do you think would work the best in dealing and addressing anxiety, since that seemed to be predominant? Zone recognition is the first habit. Emotional awareness is the second habit that you learn about in this curriculum. Mood control, music hygiene, emotional fluidity, and environment consciousness. And what we're going to do is take a poll and have you decide, what solution do you think might be best done with managing anxiety, solving the anxiety problem. And what I'm going to do is actually take a therapeutic activity from the 30 activities that are in this curriculum, and we're going to go through it together so that you can see what one of these looks like. So let's go ahead and do the poll, Christine, and find out what solution people think might be the best in addressing anxiety.
I'm having a little technical issues with the poll. Let me
Oh,
try something real quick and see. Is it still, it still thinks it's sharing the old poll
oh,
for some reason, even though it's not. And it's not allowing me to launch the new poll. So perhaps we could pivot to putting in the chat, just writing manually in the chat, which of those 6 habits, because it seems there's some technical difficulties that I can't
okay,
get past with Zoom.
okay. I'm paying attention to chat.
So if you want to go ahead and put, you could even put the number 1 through 6 based on, and I guess I will share the slide again. Um, there you go. And put in the chat. Let's see. Are you able to see the screen share now? Thank you. Thank you everyone for your flexibility.
Oh, I understand maybe some confusion. I've seen one of the chat responses of not sure what it means. Zone recognition. What zone am I in? So we'd be talking about zones, obviously, in there. And do you think that not having an idea about what zone you're in related to your entire self, how does that impact anxiety? Emotional awareness. Do you even know you're being anxious? Or is there maybe a trapped emotion of feeling you're just excited all the time? Mood control. Do you feel like that would be what needs to be done? We have to control that mood. Music hygiene, probably have no clue what that means. But imagine cleansing emotions with the use of music. Know that each of these habits builds on the prior one. There's 5 activities per habit, and they build right into the next habit. So I'm going to be looking at which one we think is the most influential on anxiety, and I'm going to be picking a specific activity, and we're gonna go through it together. So let's see. So I'm seeing 5. You're not able to see these, are you, Christine? So I need to look at it and.
Yeah, I can see. I think right now
Okay.
2 is
Okay.
one of the ones that has the most in the chat,
Okay.
the emotional
Okay.
awareness.
Okay. All right. So with that, I am going into my back end here so that I can see indeed what I picked up. So for those of you that may not have seen this, this is a card set. And in it, you find out about what the common practices are for music listening, and then what is the empowered process for that. So I'm going to read number 2, emotional awareness. So the common practice of being aware of your emotions is that you only listen to music that reflects your current feelings. It's where you're at. The new habit is that you develop awareness of your emotions and use music intentionally to help you feel better. So we're going to look at habit number 2, activity number 4. And activity number 4 is, and I'm going to pull it up in I've got a manual. We've done classes for NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness, out of Las Vegas and in other parts of the country following this whole protocol. So I have to go to page 22 in the manual to bring up that activity so I can put you through it. So going to it now. Okay. So the goal in Habit 2, learning activity number 4 of 5 activities, is to be able to train your mind to be stronger when confronted by negativity. So that's the goal of this particular therapeutic activity. So this is what we're going to do. Imagine how you can avoid losing yourself within intense emotions by building positive zones that access 7 different types of affirmations and beautiful art as you connect to matching empowerment music. So when a situation arises that upsets you, identify your mood, reference these 7 different approaches. So I'm going to list them. These 7 different approaches to select one that feels right for the situation that you find yourself in. And then you decide on an affirmation and match it with music and art even to build a positive zone and a positive mindset. So there's 7 approaches to this. The first one is if you have a discomfort, just know that discomfort is part of growth, that you learn from it, you release it, you let it go. Sounds easier said than done. But using a prescriptive approach with music will allow you to do that. So discomfort, learning and accepting that discomfort is part of growth, that you just learn from it and release it and let it go using a prescriptive playlist. Second one is another approach. Worrying and criticizing changes nothing. Find something instead about it which expresses gratitude. So it's like an attitude of gratitude. What can I find that's positive, that I can be so positive about this? In fact, I want to see something in the chat. If you had some discomfort or worrying about something, what can you hang on to and say, you know what, there is actually a positive light about that. Or I see the positive light at the end of the tunnel and it is not a train coming at me, it's greater enlightenment. What would you say? I'm looking for responses as they come in. So while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go into the third approach. The third approach is any small effort is progress. Just do something from the first or the second that we talked about, which is recognizing that you just need to learn from it, release it, let it go, or find something in it to be grateful about. The fourth approach is recognizing that scars will reveal signs of strength, actually, and they are reminders of your ability to survive. Scars reveal signs of strength, and they are reminders of your ability to survive. So I'm going to be very personal here. I have a scar, and the scar will never go away. I hope not to have another scar similar to it. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I choose to actually say thriver and not survivor. And I know that scar, because it had to be excised, was a sign of me being able to live through it. Interestingly, from the day I was told I had breast cancer to the day I was told I didn't have it, was 30 days. And if you can imagine the emotions, I don't know if anybody else has also had challenges with cancer, but it can throw you into quite a never-ending loop of concerns and information and overwhelmingness of people wanting to support and help. So be aware that scars are a sign of strength and that they remind you of your ability to survive. The fifth approach is others' pessimism is not your problem. Detach in that moment and watch life evolve as a movie. This is so important. Have you ever thought about that, of stepping back on a situation and just look at it like a movie is unfolding? It's like, wow, that's pretty interesting. How did that start? Where is it at right now? Where is it going? What's the music that's the backdrop for it? So being able to detach and notice, that is very powerful. And being able to navigate feeling stronger when confronted by negativity. Oh, so the next one is, the sixth one is, what's expected to be will be. And notice that whatever you focus on is what you grow more of. So what's expected to be will be. Allow it. And what do you want to focus on? What do you want to grow more of? In my clinical work, I have like 60 core values that I use in tandem with music therapy to help them anchor in what is that. And so they will utilize those to focus on, because they know that they want to grow more of that in their life. And then the seventh approach is just accepting that this too is going to pass. Life evolves forward, so focus on what you want to desire. What is it that you really want? And allow that just to pass on by. So there are ways to access more of this on our website. So you can easily go to Power Up 365, which gives you a daily text of an image and music and quote where you can anchor into it. Imagine getting a text every day for a year. All different genres. I've had people respond that it helps them to build their music library. And the image and the quote, if you're in this as a therapist or a helping professional, you may find it easy to share with those that you're working with to help shift utilizing any one of these 7 approaches. So with that, that is that learning activity. And just notice that anxiety can hijack your purpose. And how can you minimize it by using some of these approaches in shifting your anxiety? Any questions? Oh, so yeah, I am seeing your question, Maureen. So I am just reading them to you. We do not have a separate screen for it. What I had to do, because with the poll, I had no clue who was going to be picking what, so I didn't have extra screens available because I had 30 different activities from which to choose depending on what the poll was going to reveal. Yeah. All right, so let's see here. Let me minimize some of my windows here so I can focus on our next screen. We're getting near the end, and so I really want to focus on the last screen, Christine, and how to map out your life. You know, you could be saying to yourself, come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. Now, I want it now. Which could be that anxiety of, how come I don't get it right now? Or that inner joy. You know, and it's interesting. To me, happiness is a little bit different than joy. Joy comes from being so centered and spiritually connected to that higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever that word is for you, that there is just this inner sense of joy that bubbles up from that. Sometimes happiness can be elusive, and you're focused and targeting and wanting to feel more happiness. But this spiritual joy that you can feel as a result of doing these prescriptive playlists is an amazing way to tap into deeply your inner spirit, because you've been able to get away and release the unsettledness that is covering up that inner spiritual joy, so that you truly can be more happy, more centered, and more relaxed. So what I hope is that you will now look at your cell phone as your powerful, portable command center. with your chosen music platform, armed with prescriptive playlists, ready to go, personalized for you or others, and fully trained in how to manipulate the sound of music for healing in any given moment, anywhere, referencing all genres within these mood music sequence formulas. So as you think about how to arm yourself with this portable, powerful command center, I will say that my portable, powerful command center is utilized every day. I mean, I recently had success with it. My mother, who is older, obviously, had to go in for oral surgery. This was just last week. And I knew that I needed to put together a playlist for her real quickly because we've been having high blood pressure problems and they won't do the surgery if her blood pressure is too high. So I quickly put together, because I knew what would work for her, and created a playlist that was probably about 30 minutes long. She had hearing aids in, so her cell phone had this playlist in it. She was listening to it as she went into the room without me. And I did learn later, after the fact, that she did have high blood pressure. They had to wait until it came down into range, and then they were able to proceed with the oral surgery. So it can work in the moment. It's just training yourself about how to do that. So yes, this is a music therapy protocol that I've used with thousands of patients. And I've converted it into do-it-yourself tools so that you can harness this and be able to create these playlists that can work in the moment. I don't care where you're at, whether you're in an ICU, on an airplane, on the high top of a mountain, in your car. All of these things are possible to be mediated with the prescriptive application of music to support your well-being and possibly somebody else's, if you know that somebody really well and you know how to dial into the music that will work for them. Any questions about what I can answer for you? I am looking for, how would you go about creating a prescriptive playlist? Okay, so I've talked about the USC playlist. It's important for you to put in your music into each of those playlists: an unsettled playlist, soothing playlist, and an energizing playlist, separate from playlists that you might already have. So, if you want, drop it in the chat right now so that I can find out what kind of playlist you already have created. It could be work, could be fitness, workout, running playlist, study playlist, what else? Meditation playlist. What kinds of playlists do you already have in your cell phone? Because these are going to be 3 new ones. And it could be that you're going to populate these 3 new ones, called a U playlist, an S playlist, and an E playlist, with music that might be in another playlist. But remember, it has to qualify, has to pre-qualify with the right words matching the right music. And again, any genre should be looked at. When I do in-person workshops, I actually will categorize people into different genres. So we'll have the hip hop rap over there, the metal over there, the classical over there, the Christian over there, all different groups. And then I take one person from each group and make a new group. And they have already been educated about why we're doing that. And they rely on each other to be the expert in that particular genre, because you may not have any clue what to be looking for in a particular genre, but you know that it needs to match a particular mood. And so you rely then on somebody else that has more experience in another genre, where you can then create these specialized USC playlists, and then you create a prescriptive playlist out of those specialized playlists using a mood sequence formula. So then it gets more tricky. So the generic formula is truly U to S to E, but there are so many modifications beyond that, dependent on you. So it's a very personalized approach, but that is the generic mood sequence and how you go about creating a prescriptive playlist most easily. Any other questions before we start wrapping up today? I truly hope that you will do something today that your future self will thank you for. And guess what? You already did it. You attended this fabulous seminar, webinar that Christine, thank you, Christine, for allowing us to come on this platform and share more with all of Arts and Healing Initiatives fans and members to be able to start managing unsettledness and start referring to this protocol for loved ones, for others that are having challenges with those moods that we talked about earlier. I
Judith,
am.
we do have a few questions. One of them was
Okay.
if you could repeat the name of that app, the 365 app, to get the daily text with music image quotes. What was
Oh,
that?
yes. So if you go to our website at themusicforlife.com and you look under tools, you'll see the Power Up 365 for being able to get a text a day. And I think it's been significantly reduced over what it's normally costing to get 365 texts with all individual images, quotes, different genres. There's no duplications anywhere. It's truly been vetted by a music therapist.
Thank you, Judith. And there's another two more questions from Ping.
Mm-hmm.
One is, how do you feel about a transcendental or inspirational category, which may be different from energizing and soothing?
Huh. Mm. So what I'm hearing is that there might be a shift in energy, uh, or there could be a really deeper connection. So that the transcendental or inspirational category could be in S or E. And I would absolutely consider then the music itself. Is it more soothing, transcendental, or is it more inspirational and a little bit more energy to it, where it would go in the energizing category? So you could still put music that is transcendental or inspirational in the S or the E category. So the difference, which may be different, yeah. So in terms of this protocol, there is not a difference. The transcendental or inspirational would fit into either soothing or energizing. It really depends on the words and the music and how it flows as to where it would go.
Thank you, Judith.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Judith. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. So if it's okay, I think we'll shift. Does that sound good, Judith?
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, so much gratitude to Judith. Thank you for leading us through this session. Really, really appreciate it. We'd also, yes, loving the hearts. Feel free to include reactions in the chat, whatever way that you want to share love, show love to Judith. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks, Judith. And we'd also like to extend our appreciation to you, our community, and also thank you for your generous donations that enable us to continue to offer these free workshops each month, and also to the Los Angeles County Department of Arts and Culture, who make our Hope series possible. Thank you all for joining us today.